Is Microscale the perfect way to get into LEGO for Dungeons & Dragons? We're going to find out in this video. Price is one of the major hurdles that you face when getting into using LEGO for Dungeons & Dragons and building out your map collection, your monsters and your party members. So a lesser known size of LEGO might be the perfect way to achieve big LEGO maps without needing to spend the big bucks. When I first started out thinking about the idea of using LEGO for Dungeons & Dragons, I came across some very fascinating ideas of using Microscale. I had never heard of Microscale before that. For those of you like me that have not heard of Microscale before, here's a breakdown. Usual minifigures are mini size, that's in the name. And so most LEGO sets are in this minifigure mini size. There are a couple of LEGO sets that are using a different scale, Microscale. It's even tinier, it's even smaller than the minifig size, and it was mainly used in some of LEGO's games. I don't know if you heard, but LEGO has made some games in the past. Heroica comes to mind when thinking of a fantasy setting, and that's my entry point into using LEGO for Dungeons & Dragons. I saw the Heroica sets and I fell in love immediately. The idea of not needing to spend the big bucks to build out big sets was very attractive to me at that point. The Heroica sets seemed to contain all the necessary pieces that were needed to build for Dungeons & Dragons. I was able to get these sets for super cheap on classifieds, super cheap compared to what they originally cost, and I was able to get a full collection of all the sets from the Heroica series for, I don't know, 50 bucks, something like that. And I purchased some additional ones individually for also fraction of the original cost. I have heard though from some of you that they have become quite expensive depending on the region you're in. So when I'm talking about Microscale, it's not necessary to use LEGO Heroica, but not mentioning LEGO Heroica would probably get some angry comments. The Heroica board game is more linear, but it contains vital pieces that you can use for building maps. And what's really fun about it is it also contains several monsters in Microscale in the form of microfigures. They have zombie orcs, orcs in armor, werewolves, some kind of stone golem. They have even variants for like the bosses that look a little more fancy. Orc bosses, regular orcs, and I have a lot of them because of all the different sets they're contained in. So they have all the main classes for your party as well, like a sorcerer, a wizard, a paladin, a barbarian, a druid, a fighter, a cleric, or a rogue. I didn't get a proper warlock though. Also a fun concept you can adapt from the Heroica sets are these smaller sized, I wouldn't call them Microscale, but smaller sized weapons. They have a lot of these, like an axe, a scythe, some swords, some daggers, but they also have these keys, and these keys are regular sized, but they all can be put on the map, which I think is a fun concept. So you can put items for your players to get in a battle on the map, and if they move to that particular square, they gain the item, or they can pick up the item, which I think is a fun way to entice your players to move more in battles, which, to be honest, players mostly stick to a monster and just hack and slay on it. Getting players to move in a fight is a task of itself for the Dungeon Master, so maybe scattering some items on there is a fun concept, I think. One thing I noticed is that it's hard to tell these microfigures apart in a battle if you're using a lot of them. And it's the same with minifigures, but there are so many ways to tweak minifigures to make them look distinct, which I think is one of the big upsides of using LEGO for your battles in Dungeons & Dragons. Your minis all look different, and it's very easy to customize them. For microfigures, I went with using headpieces. Why not put some big hats or helmets onto them to tell them apart? And I think it's very fun when using regular mini size. I'm still using them as goblins, as I said. And putting these helmets on, I think, fits the vibe of a goblin being a little quirky, a little strange, and it brings some fun into the game that I really like. And it's very practical, as you can then tell them apart, say like, okay, these are the skirmishers, these are the like spellcasters or whatever. And so you as a dungeon master can better manage the game without like labeling them with numbers or something like that. And the great thing with Microscale is that building in that size is very easy, or no, it might be more complicated than building bigger things, but you don't need a lot of pieces. You can build trees with just 2 pieces. You can use regular sized bricks that you would find in other sets, and in Microscale they suddenly become fully fledged other things, like the doors that would usually be used as windows in regular sized Lego sets. And as you don't need any pieces other than the jumper plates, it's also easier to build out bigger maps. As I have used all my jumper plates in my other regular sized maps, I only build out these small ones, like this forest area with a lake and a tiny dungeon with a dragon waiting behind the last door, defended by some orcs or goblins. I'm using the Microscale figures in my regular sized Dungeons & Dragons battles as goblins or like tiny creatures. So here are the pros. Cheaper to build. It's pretty easy to get them. Not necessarily the Microfigures. I don't know their exact price in your region, of course, but you can just take 2 other bricks, mash them together, and you have a Microscale figure. So there's no real need for a lot of bricks to get started. The downside, of course, it's way smaller. So you will not have that feeling of putting a big map on the table and exciting your players with the size of the area they can explore. But it's very practical, and it's a great way to get started, as you can use most of the pieces down the line if you ever want to scale up your maps, as I did. I started with the Heroica sets in Microscale, and then I later decided to go bigger, and I just used all the pieces from there to scale up to the bigger maps. I know we had a lot of discussions on this channel about the right map sizes, and I just want to throw Microscale into that mix. Yes, you can go with 3-stat or 4-stat design per square, but I think Microscale is a great starting point if you're struggling to get the budget together for like a big setup and you just want to start playing. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? We have some great ideas of using Microscale over on our Discord, and I would really encourage you to check out the Discord server. It's very lively for a small community that we are. I really appreciate everybody that joined and posts on there, and it's very inspiring to me. It's one of the reasons why I made this Microscale video now, because someone posted there and I really loved the ideas and the design. There are some great concepts that are better than mine, tweaking or adding to it some very novel ideas as well. And it really shows the different approaches you can take to building with Lego for Dungeons & Dragons. So check out the Discord, it's free to join. It's a very friendly community. So the link to the Discord is down below, and I would love to see you there as well. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.